I was talking to my neighbors about it, and they said, "Look, all you got to do is show up and do what you say you're going to do, and you'll be as busy as you want to be." So I started that little company, and that's what I did. My tagline on my card was, "We will call you back."
Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve.
Welcome to the Dream Big and Think Different podcast, where we inspire, impact, and empower.
Progress is impossible if you always do things the way you have always done things.
It's time to dream big. Here's your host, Dr. Sachin Maskey.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Dream Big and Think Different podcast, where our mission is to inspire, impact, and empower millions of lives. I am your host, Dr. Sachin Maskey, and today we have another dreamer whose name is Greg Dickerson. I'm very honored to have him in my podcast, and I'm very lucky to have him in our show. Welcome, Greg. How are you doing today?
Doing fantastic, Sachin. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So before we start, I'm going to quickly go over Greg's bio today. Just an intro. I have not met him personally, but I have learned so many things about him since few weeks, and I would like to definitely start with saying that Greg is a serial entrepreneur. He's a real estate developer. He's a very good coach and mentor for a lot of entrepreneurs. He has bought and developed and sold over more than 250 million in real estate, built and renovated hundreds of custom homes, commercial building, developed residential and mixed-use subdivision, started 12 different companies from ground up. Greg also coaches again and mentors some of the top entrepreneurs, real estate investors, real estate developers around the world, helping them to start, grow, and scale their business, raise more capital, and do bigger deals. Some of the great clients have over $2 billion in asset under management and deals in process. Greg is an expert in topics on entrepreneurship, leadership, real estate, and regularly interviewed on some of the top real estate investing and business podcasts today. More than that, Greg has served in United States Navy out of his high school and always been leader in the community, as well as supporting, advising, serving a board of several churches, ministry, and nonprofit organization. Again, glad to have you, Greg, today. And the first thing I would like to ask my guest in my podcast is, who is Greg Dickerson and why he is in this world?
Well, based on the bio you just read, obviously I'm adult ADD, right? So that's what a serial entrepreneur really is. But no, for me, who I am is, I'm after impact. I love the name Dream Big and Think Different, because that's me. When people describe me, they say, you think very differently than a lot of other people because of the background that I have. I love to dream big. I love to make an impact. I love to make things happen. And that's how I'm wired. I'm a giver. And I'm just wired that way. I love to get involved and give and help. And what I'm doing with this last half of my life is trying to impact the world so that when I exit, people that I have come across and that I've impacted can continue to impact their world. And, the butterfly effect just continues to go on. So thank you for what you're doing. I appreciate, your impact and you giving back.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. Yeah, that was very impressive. And I was just learning more about you. And I wanted to ask you, what is your, since it's all about dream and thinking different. So when you were where were you born? I'm not sure. So I want to a little bit know more about your background and what is your childhood dream when you were, a child?
Yeah, so I was born in Virginia Beach. That's where I'm from. My family originally, my dad was military, so we moved around the country. I lived in California, early preschool, elementary school ages, then Pensacola, Florida, middle school through high school. That's where I grew up. And then ultimately back to Virginia Beach. Then I joined the Navy right out of high school, was stationed in California. Then after I got out of the Navy, I stayed in California for a little bit. Then I went to the Virgin Islands for a little bit after that, just kind of sailing around and surfing. And then I lived on the Outer Banks of North Carolina for about 14 years before moving back to Virginia. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. Pretty much primarily, mostly the eastern region of North Carolina up to DC has kind of been my territory. But as far as childhood dreams, early on, I wanted to be Batman. And then, when I realized that wasn't going to happen, I just wanted to be an entrepreneur. I mean, I'm a natural born entrepreneur. I was taught at a very young age that if I wanted something, I had to figure out a way to get it. figure out a way to make it happen. So if I wanted something, my dad wouldn't give me the money. He'd say, you go figure out how to pay for it. So I would go knock on doors. I'd go around my neighborhood and knock on your door. Sachin, my name's Greg. I live down the street. I need to make some money. I'm in martial arts. I've got a testing coming up. It's going to cost $20. So I need to make some money. What do you need done? I'll cut your grass, rake your yard, walk your dog, wash your car. I'll do anything. I just need to make some money. That was me. So I was taught at a very young age to create what I wanted in this world. If there was something I wanted, I needed to go create a way to get it. I need to figure out how to solve problems and create opportunities to get ultimately what I wanted, but also to help other people solve their problems, get what they want. So, that's me in a nutshell. I'm just a natural born entrepreneur. I love starting and building things. I love building businesses, building people, building properties. That's just who I am and how I'm wired.
Wow. So that's pretty awesome. So currently you're in East Coast, Virginia, you said?
Yeah, I'm on the eastern coast of the United States in Virginia, just outside of D.C. That's where I live right now. But I do business all over the world, and I do deals mostly up and down this eastern region. That's kind of been my territory.
Sure. Yeah, I'm in the East Coast too, by the way, in Massachusetts. So we're in the same time zone and everything. So the only thing I don't like about East Coast is the cold weather. I'm near Boston.
It's a little colder where you are. We're below the snow line, but the last couple of years there's been a lot of snow south. But yeah, it gets chilly here.
Yep. Sure, definitely. So the next question, I'm trying to figure out your journey in everything you have done so far. I think I would like to start with start with Dream. You said a little bit about being entrepreneur. But I see that your bio, if I'm not wrong here, and I just Googled it, to be honest with you, and it says you're also in the Boston Sportscaster somehow?
No, that's not me, but that's another. So when you Google my name, the two things that come up are me, and then there's that sportscaster in Boston, Greg Dickerson. So we're the two names that come up when you Google that. But no, so starting back my journey in 1997, I moved to the Outer Banks of North Carolina. I started a little remodeling handyman company. And I moved there to get in the restaurant business because I've got a restaurant background as well after the military. Mm-hmm. But I moved there, started a little remodeling handyman company. I built that into a $30 million company in 7 years. Started 12 other companies along the way during that time frame, built them up, sold them off, and reinvested the profits in other deals. So I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read Power of Positive Thinking, Norman Vincent Peale, and Think and Grow Rich, which is all about dreaming big and thinking different, right? And what I learned from Rich Dad, Poor Dad was I wanted to be not Robert Kiyosaki, but I wanted to be Rich Dad. I wanted to be his mentor. I wanted to be the guy that had all of the businesses, was investing in all the deals, had everybody coming to him, to do deals, bring in deals, to partner. And then, so I set out on that journey to build businesses that generated cash flow that I could invest in other assets. And then when I read, The Power of Positive Thinking and Think and Grow Rich, what that taught me was that I didn't have any limits, that I could do these things that I didn't know I could do. Because again, I didn't go to college. I didn't have anybody in my family who were entrepreneurs, who were successful business people. I mean, I had absolutely nothing. I started with zero. And I went out and created a little handyman company because people in my area were telling me that they couldn't get any work done, and I was trying to have some stuff done on my house. Nobody would call you back. Nobody would show up. So I was talking to my neighbors about it, and they said, look, all you got to do is show up and do what you say you're going to do, and you'll be as busy as you want to be. So I started that little company. And that's what I did. My tagline on my card was, "We will call you back." So I returned phone calls and showed up and did what I said I was going to do. And, that little company did $250,000 the first year in business. It was just me, my truck, my tools, doing everything myself. And then 7 years later, I had, 30 full-time employees, hundreds of, subcontractors working for me, doing 30 million, a year in building business, building multi-million-dollar luxury beach houses. Never built a house before in my life before I started building there. So I just dreamed big, and, I thought different about, if I want to do this, if I want to go build a multi-million-dollar beach house, and I've never done that before, how am I going to make that happen? So, it takes big dreams and thinking different, to make these things happen. I love the name of the podcast.
Sure. Thank you. I really think something coincidentally what happened is for me also was the 3 books that impacted me tremendously. Was number one is it's exactly Rich Dad and Poor Dad. That book changed my total mindset of, being a W-2 employee to basically investors. So the power of passive income, which we're going to talk about also. And Think and Grow is so powerful book, and believe it or not, it's written 100 years ago. And the concept, the mastermind, all those, whatever a mind can conceive and believe, mind can achieve, and that has significant impact in my life too. And I was so interested to hear about your journey too. It's kind of similar. You got started.
It really is. I mean, what you tell yourself you can do or not do is true. And it really comes down to what you think, how you think, and then obviously developing yourself, obtaining the skills, the knowledge, skills, and abilities to go out and do something. But yeah, that was really the light bulb for me, was just realizing that I can do whatever I want to set out to do as long as I educate myself, take action, take specific, disciplined, focused action on the right things. That yeah, you can make things happen that you just didn't know you could do.
Yes, definitely. So I was just wondering about your company, which I'm trying to get from bottom and thing. So you are the founder of CEO of the Dickerson International Company. My question is, went to the website and all that. I want to hear from you. Why did you started this? And this is your current venture looks like. And how old is this company? And why coaching and mentorship? I have a lot of questions, but I just want to make sure that about you more. About your company.
Yeah, I created that to give back and impact. So what that is, that's my school of entrepreneurship that I've created to help people do what I've done, achieve what I've achieved and beyond, and share all of the, knowledge and wisdom and skills that I've gained over the last 30 years doing all kinds of deals, all kinds of companies, and basically everything I know, everything I've learned packaged up into online courses for people that they can take them anywhere, anytime, how to buy a business, start a business, develop real estate, invest in commercial real estate, do residential real estate. So the courses are designed to take people from the beginning levels, through advanced. And then I, have some coaching. I've been doing one-on-one coaching, and I'm getting ready to launch a mastermind here real soon for people and create that. But, I've been a coach and a mentor my entire career. So like I said, I'd never built a multi-million-dollar beach house before I did. What I did was I found other people who had been doing that for years before me, in that market. I brought them on board, and then I coached them to success. Not only did I recruit, hire, train, but I led, delegated, and motivated, champions, the right people. I put the right people in the right seats, built that team, and coached them all to the finish line. So in all of my companies, that's what I was. I was a coach and a mentor to everybody who worked with me and for me. Then I coached, all kinds of sports activities with my daughters over the years, all their teams. So that's just who I am. I've always been a leader. I've always been a delegator, a motivator. I know how to inspire results out of people. I've developed that skill set in myself. I mean, I was kind of a natural born leader as well, but I also developed those skills as I went along, pouring into myself and educating myself. So I know the value of education. I know the value of masterminds. I know the value of mentorship and what it can do. And, I had that in my life. So I wanted to now, with the rest of my life, I've done pretty much everything I've wanted to do, from deals and, things like that. Again, starting with absolutely nothing, from nothing, no resources, built it all from scratch, so I wanted to now give back and impact and give other people the ability to do the same thing in their lives at different levels. Like I said, I've got all kinds of people. Some are just starting out that go through my courses and programs. I've got some people that are medical professionals like you that I'm helping them, get out of the day-to-day and build that, passive income and the ability to do what they want on their terms. And, I've got other investors and entrepreneurs and professional athletes and, entertainers that I work with, helping them, make decisions and create businesses and manage their, portfolios and opportunities moving forward. So for me, it's all about impact. It's all about taking what I know, what I've learned, so people can, number one, avoid the mistakes that I made, fast track their success, do the things that they never thought they could do, and, achieve their dreams way faster than they ever thought they could, because I did. And it was there for me. And now in this world that we have today, to be able to package that up and put it out there, and be able to impact people all around the world 24/7 is just, it's an amazing thing.
That is very, very interesting and amazing. You have done so many coaching. So my question for you for the coaching, Greg, is I'm curious myself, because I am also very much interested to two things for me was mindset, and other thing was mentorship. Find a right mentor and right teacher, I guess, to learn and grow. So a little bit more about your coaching. How does that work? How many students you have coached so far, and some of the great students you have come across with. I would like to hear more about that.
Yeah. So I have several students. The cool thing about the coaching, the one-on-one that I do right now, and I don't know, I've had probably 100 people over the last few years that I've coached.
Wow.
But the one-on-one program is really good because it's just one-on-one like this. It's just me and the student. And we start out and we do, we go through everything. Your business, your life, everything, to try to find out, number one, what were you put on this planet to do? What are your God-given gifts, abilities, talents? What's your superpower? So I help a lot of people find clarity. Maybe some people are, I've had clients that are been in real estate syndication and they'd reached a certain level. They didn't know how to get to the next level. And, I helped them unlock that. And I mean, I've taken people from, doing $20 million deals, stuck at 100 million assets under management, to doing $80 to $100 million deals and going to 1 billion assets under management. I had one client, endodontist, that had just started out in the real estate development business. He went through my course. I helped him negotiate, his first purchase, bring everything together to get all the permits, all the entitlements, so he could start building a townhouse development ground up. And one conversation we had about his project, he had to build a retaining wall that would have cost about $3 million. And I said, look, why don't you just go buy this piece of land right over here, right next to it? It'll eliminate the need to have to build that retaining wall, and then it'll open up some open space. You'll get more density. So it saved him $3 million on his infrastructure cost. It enabled him to get 15 more units, one phone call.
Wow.
So that's what's really cool, is that everybody I talk to in my coaching program, every single one of them, the first session we have is such a huge breakthrough for them. Not only is the value of their investment in the program infinite from that point on, it just it pays for itself exponentially in that first session. But the breakthrough that they get, they would never have to talk to me again, and they're just off to the races. And that's the gift that I've been given, is to be able to really simplify the complicated, really dial in focus, and help people just figure that out. What am I supposed to be doing? I'm in my business. I've hit a roadblock. How do I get through? I've got this deal going, and we've got how do we get the deal done? Whatever it is, or, somebody who's in the early stages or whatever, I'm able to just really find that breakthrough and that sweet spot and that, epiphany for people to really be able to get to the next level or break through those barriers and roadblocks that they've had in front of them. So that's what's really exciting about it, is helping people just, find that, just find that whatever it is and just get them to the next level.
Absolutely. And how long is the coaching course? Like, is it about a year, 6 months?
Yeah. I do a 1 year mentorship. So that's what that's all about. It's, the one-on-one mentorship is 1 year. And then the mastermind that I'm getting ready to come out with is going to be a year-long mastermind where, I bring people together that are, kind of like-minded entrepreneurs doing different things, for people that, aren't ready or can't afford the one-on-one. The one-on-one's not cheap. It requires a significant investment, but that's kind of qualifies the individuals that are ready for that level. And then the courses are just $95, or you can get them all for, $195. And I did that so that they're accessible for everybody, to have that information. Sure. I mean, people tell me all the time, two things. One, they say, your courses, you should be charging thousands of dollars. These things are so valuable. And the other one, coaching, they're like, man, you should be charging $100,000 minimum, for your coaching. I'm like, well, I want to be able to help people. And if you charge too much, you leave a lot of people out that you can't reach. So I've kept everything at reasonable, price points, but at the same time, at a level that qualifies the individual that's, coming into the one-on-one.
You're listening to the Dream Big and Think Different podcast with Dr. Sachin Maskey. Be sure to stop by SachinMaskeyMT.com to download a free copy of Dr. Maskey's book.
Sure. And all this information is in the website called DickersonInternational.com, correct?
Yes.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm going to switch the gear a little bit about, and I know you're involved in mostly entrepreneurship, coaching, mentorship, and also real estate is a major part of your I guess, your success or whatever we call it. For me, real estate is one of them too. I wanted to hear from you, real estate. Why did you just chose real estate as your starting, and how did you get started?
So I fell into that because of the nature of how I started. I started as a builder, remodeling and building. And I was working for investors that were coming down to the Outer Banks of North Carolina. That's where I was, big resort area, short-term rentals, summer vacation homes. They were coming down, buying the houses, and they would hire me to do renovations to increase the cash flow of the houses. So maybe it was a house on pilings, and I'd come in and they would hire me to close in the ground floor, put a pool in, and it would add, 100 grand, 50 to 100 grand a year to the property, income, depending on where it was located. So I started learning from these people that were coming down doing these deals. I was like, hey, I want to do this. And, they said, well, let's do a few of these, see how it goes. And, maybe we'll help you, partner with you, teach you. And then I had other people that were building spec houses, were building houses. So I started getting into building, and I started building spec houses. And I had, somebody that was a developer out of the Northern Virginia area that kind of taught me how to do the spec house development business, and, took total advantage of me, like basically cheated me out of hundreds of thousands of dollars in these first several deals that we did together. But I learned, extremely valuable lessons, and, I made some money, but, again, he took total advantage of me because I was young, didn't know what I was doing. And I just totally trusted this individual, but I learned extremely valuable lessons from there, and I learned how to become a developer.
So this was back in, Greg, this is back in 1989, right? If I'm not wrong.
Well, this was 99, 2000.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got out of the Navy in 1989, and then I kind of traveled around, did some things. But in 1997 is when I moved to the Outer Banks and started that first company.
Okay.
So by 2000, I started building spec houses.
Is this a construction company, RC?
No, that was like a early on company that I had in Virginia Beach when I first got married and was living in Virginia Beach for about 5 or 6 years. So that was like, so I had a couple of companies along the way that, were like little construction companies. I was doing, building fences and doing little cabinetry and trim work and things like that. That was before I moved to the Outer Banks and started Outer Banks Construction. That was the company that I started there in 1997, and that was the big one.
So 1997 to 2005 looks like you did that, correct?
Yeah. Sold that company 04, 05, and and then became a developer after that, and then hired builders mostly, for me after that time frame, and but yeah. So I mean, that's how I got into real estate, was by working for other people that were investing in real estate, developing properties, things like that. And I learned by working from them, because a lot of the people that were coming down to the beach were three things. One, it was other developers that, were successful in other areas. Like some of them were worth several $100 million that were coming down building beach houses, and I would work for them, building the houses for them as a general contractor. Two were people that in the .com boom were cashing in their stocks before the bust and buying beach houses. So, I was learning from people about the markets and how that worked at the time. And then the third one were medical professionals. So, we had a lot of doctors and dentists and, attorneys and other professionals that were coming down and buying, beach houses back then. And, so it was really interesting that was my mastermind. I was learning from those people. And then also I was learning from the people I hired, because again, I never built houses before. So I hired people that's what they did in that area from other top companies, brought them in to work with me. I coached them, but I also learned from them. So, it's amazing how much you can learn from your employees, doing things that you don't know how to do, from partners and, customers that you're working for. So, that's kind of how I learned the business and got into real estate and just took it all from there.
I totally agree. We learn from everyone every day. For example, in my patient practice, I learn every day from my patient. I tell them, you are the best doctor. You know your body better than anybody else. So definitely that's a great thing to learn from everyone every day. So this company, Island Homes, I'm just looking at your LinkedIn profile here. So there's the same thing, a custom home that you used to work for 2006 to 2011?
So that was another one that I owned. So I sold my first big company, 0405, and then took a little time off, was doing some other ventures. And I started, that company called Island Homes, and we were building and developing, doing spec houses and stuff. And then basically that one I shut down in 2009 because there was no more building to be done on the Outer Banks in 2009 when, the crash happened.
Sure, definitely. So the company here, another company, because there's so many companies.
Yeah, well, that's what I did. Yeah. I mean, I had a pool spa landscaping company, a hurricane shutter company, real estate company. I had a gymnasium, a gymnastics, trampoline, cheerleading school. I had retail, restaurants. Yeah, I've had all kinds of stuff.
You still have this Dickerson investment company, or that's been turned to international, Dickerson International?
Yeah. That's just a holding company. So yeah, that's not like an active business. That's just a holding company that holds other investments and things like that.
All right. Sounds good. Just want to confirm. And Regarding your Navy, U.S. Navy from 1985 to 1989, so tell me more about that. I was a little interested to know about what you have achieved in that career.
Yeah. Well, that
To
was just
me,
a short 4-year stint. So I went in right out of high school and did retail in the Navy, and I was on the battleship New Jersey and did a Western Pacific tour. So I went to China, Japan, Hong Kong, Korea, Thailand,
really,
Philippines. Yeah. So did the whole Western Pacific thing. I was stationed in Long Beach, California, and
wow,
yeah. After I got out, I just had my sea bag and my surfboard. I've been a surfer my whole life. I just traveled around for a while and just kind of, worked different odd jobs and just kind of had fun until I decided to get married in 1990 and settle down. And I did two things, restaurants and construction. So I was working in restaurants, managing restaurants. And then I always had a side business, that Chelsea construction, or RC construction. I had that on the side and, would do odd jobs and things when I wasn't working in the restaurants and managing restaurants. And, the restaurant industry, the Navy, I took some business classes as part of my retail training, but we took care of all the ship stores and vending machines and barbershops, that kind of stuff. So, I learned a little bit about business there. Obviously, the military teaches you discipline, standard operating procedures, preventative maintenance. And, there's a lot of things that the military teaches you, but the biggest thing you get out of the military service is discipline. So that's the biggest takeaway I got out of the service there, which I grew up with that. My dad was 20-year career military. All the men in my family were all military. So I grew up in a very disciplined, strict environment. And, we follow rules or people die, kind of environment. And then after I got out of the Navy, I worked in restaurants and, I had my little construction businesses on the side. And in the restaurant industry, I learned all about numbers, KPIs. I learned about, people, how to become, a leader, delegator, motivator. I was a leader in the Navy as well, but that's where I really started studying and developing my leadership skills working in the restaurant industry, and where I really learned how to watch the numbers and, squeeze a nickel out of a penny. That's the restaurant industry, right? Very tight margins. It was all about hospitality, customer service, having a great product and, really how to manage people and inspire results out of people. That's what I really learned in that industry, that I took all that experience when I launched that company in 1997, my first big company, and really grew and expanded that and started all those other different companies along the way. So, that's kind of me in a nutshell and how that evolved.
sure, definitely. I really think this discipline that you mentioned is very important in anybody's life, and focus, discipline and focus equals success, I call. And if you have those
Yeah, and
two
that's
things,
huge in the military because you mentioned mindset. So mindset's a lot of things to a lot of people. Sometimes it's kind of a self-help out there kind of thing. Mindset is what you set your mind on. So discipline is all about mindset. Discipline is doing what you have to do, what you need to do, no matter what, no matter how you feel, no matter what the environment, no matter what's going on, you do the things you need to do consistently. So, discipline is, yes, it's focus, it's consistency, it's, deliberate, and it's, again, it's, staying the course no matter what happens, no matter what you're facing, no matter what you need to do. And that was drilled into me at a very young age. Take care of business first, then go have your fun later. That's discipline. Doing what needs to be done first, and then, you enjoy the rewards later. Delayed gratification, investing in the things that need to be invested in first before you can relax and, kick back and enjoy, the fruits of those labors. So that was huge. That was foundational in my journey to success and accomplishment.
Sure, definitely. So you have done, Greg, so many things since 1989, and I just wanted to know, what is your dream now, and what's new you're working besides mentorship, coaching, and I know you've been also in Bitcoin. I saw somewhere you talk about other things too, but what is your
I
next
talk about
passion?
markets and cryptocurrencies and things like that. But for me, I'm after impact. I'm trying to help as many people as I can, so that they can in turn impact their world and their community and their, state and their world, wherever it is. Like you like to build, schools and hospitals and things around the world. I want to help people like you increase that. And that's what's really cool, that I get feedback from, my people that I work with, clients, students, things like that, is they tell me, not only have you taught me how to be successful and do things I never thought I could, I can give back now, and I can give like I've never been able to give before. That's
Beautiful.
that to me, I'm kind of wired in that way. I've kind of always been somebody who kind of unites people and helps, people do things. I've done a lot of stuff in the nonprofit world and the, faith-based community where I brought people together, done events and helped, people do big things in those arenas. And there's
Sure.
only so much I can do. But if I can
Yes.
help you and then you go out and impact and I can help 10 other people over here and then you can help other people, I mean, it just keeps going. So at the end of the day, we're all going to exit, right? Nobody's living forever, right? We're all going to die.
Sure.
So, yeah, you can build businesses and you can do deals and that's fun. I had a good time with that. But at the end of the day, it's all about relationships. It's all about making a positive impact on this world. And when I do exit this planet, I want to know that I've given as much as I can give. I've impacted as many people as I can possibly impact. And that through that, they're impacting the world in their way, whatever their beliefs are, whatever their backgrounds are, whatever their philanthropic activities are, whatever's important to you. I want to give you the ability to go multiply that exponentially through, your efforts as well as other efforts. To me, when I leave this planet, if I've left a footprint like that, where other people are able to reach their dreams and impact the world in their way, man, that's more exciting to me than any deal you could possibly ever do. So that's
Sure.
what I'm
Definitely.
spending the rest of my life doing because I've done I like to do deals and I'm still active and I'm still doing stuff and I'm on the board of some companies and, things like that. But, that doesn't excite me like what I just talked about. Impact is what excites me.
Yeah, totally agree. And one of my mission of the podcast is to impact, inspire, and empower millions of lives. That's what I think I'm also planning to do. And I really appreciate,
Now
whatever you
you're
have
not
done.
planning, you're doing it. You're
Yes.
doing it. You're showing up every
Yes.
day. Sometimes you probably don't want to, but you're showing up every day and you're doing it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for kind words again. And you're definitely an inspiration to me and, of a lot of the people. So I'm going to switch the gear a little bit now, give some tips to my listener about entrepreneurship. You have done this for a long time. So what would you think the three most important habits to be a successful entrepreneur? And another question I have for entrepreneurship would be, what do you enjoy most being an entrepreneur? And what are your biggest challenge? Three questions.
So what do I enjoy in most? Entrepreneurship is creative. So entrepreneurs, then I'll answer all this together. So it's creativity. It's expressing my creativity. I'm a creative person. I create what I want in the world, whether it's, business, companies, deals, or impact. So it keeps me intellectually stimulated in that way of creativity. The second thing about, entrepreneurship in terms of what people need to be thinking about is entrepreneurs solve problems. So a lot of people get discouraged by problems or set back by problems. I look for problems. I welcome problems and challenges because that's what we do. We solve problems. We make things happen. We get things done. That's what entrepreneurs do. Welcome problems, welcome challenges, because the bigger the problem, the bigger the challenge, the bigger the opportunity. And then number three is always be curious. Always ask good questions, deeper questions, and follow up and, continue to dig deeper and dive deeper because that's where you uncover, real opportunities is by curiosity and asking really good questions when you're engaged in your, problem solving and your opportunity uncovering, missions.
Sure. Sounds. Thank you. What about the biggest challenges you have faced as being an entrepreneur yourself?
So the biggest challenges are, navigating, different economic times. Like 2009 was very challenging because what I did, I was a builder developer and that business got wiped out completely. So I had to reinvent myself. And that's what entrepreneurs do. You reinvent yourself. Early on in my career, like you mentioned, that one company, RC Construction, that was government contracting. So I got out of the military. I had a, high security clearance. So I was traveling all up and down the East Coast working on military bases. I was doing, handyman stuff as well, residential, but mainly I was doing defense contracting and the government cut back on defense spending, so that just dried up and evaporated. So I had to pivot and start doing residential stuff, working for homeowners and things like that. So, constantly, having the challenges of stuff beyond your control from an economic standpoint, kind of like what we're going through right now with interest rates rising and things like that. The economy is shifting and pivoting. So you have to be able to, improvise, adapt, and, overcome to whatever, the environment throws at you. So in terms of challenges, that those have been the biggest that I've faced in my career. And of course, there's always the little day-to-day challenges of, managing people. And, especially now, that's very challenging. I help a lot of people with that right now in terms of, how to really lead, delegate, motivate their team, how to put those systems in place to be able to, find the right people. That's a huge challenge for businesses today is, with the employment picture like it is, extremely challenging.
Sure, definitely. So for me, I think the challenge that I'm facing right now is two things. One is the team that you just mentioned, which is a big part of the entrepreneurship and the capital. Those are the two biggest challenges I think we face as an entrepreneur all the time.
Yeah. And the good news about that is they're both easily solvable with the right knowledge, the right information, the right systems. Yeah, so it's really, again, it's all about what you know and, how you approach it. So those really aren't challenges. You just don't know what to do.
Exactly. So we need somebody like Greg to help us to go the right direction. We have experience, So definitely would be honored to, maybe in the future we can work together and go
absolutely.
from there. Sure. Let's talk about a little bit about economy of today's market, since you briefly mentioned about that. So what is your thoughts right now, and in terms of economy, and what do you advise? What's investor or myself or other people should do?
So we're in a risk-off macroeconomic cycle right now. So the business cycle works in peaks and valleys. Good times never last, bad times never last. It's peaks and valleys, and it's the business cycle. Right now, we're in a risk-off environment because the Federal Reserve is tightening, meaning they're raising interest rates and they pulled back on quantitative easing. They're pulling liquidity out of the system. So all of the distorted levels of everything we've seen over the last 2 years is now contracting. So, obviously inflation is a big problem. Inflation hits lower earners the hardest. So that really affects a demand-driven economy, which is what we are. We're a consumption-based economy. So our economy, runs on consumer spending and demand. So in order to bring inflation back into check, you have to destroy demand. In order to destroy demand, you have to raise the cost of credit so that people can't tap into home equity, lines of credit, things like that. And you also have to bring the labor market back into check. That's one of the biggest problems we have right now is that there's, way more jobs than there are people willing to take them. So that keeps prices high. So right now, that's just, kind of the environment we're in. So you have to manage your investments from a risk off standpoint, meaning, you got to be careful with what you invest in from a risk standpoint because interest rates are still high. Assets are repricing. The economy is deleveraging. Financial markets is, the economy as a whole. Investors, individuals, households are all deleveraging. And, credit is going to, continue to dry up, become more, be more expensive and things like that. So you just have to kind of understand where you are in the cycle, depending on what you're investing in so that you, play your investments that way until things balance out. We understand where the economy is from a recessionary standpoint. Are we going to have a recession? How long and how deep is that going to be? We won't know that till we get into next year. And then, once the Fed can stop tightening and reverse policy, then it'll be a risk-on environment again. And that's when you can really take more chances, take more risk. And of course, all of this depends on where you are in your life and your career as well. The younger you are, the more risk you can take. The older you are, the less risk you obviously want to take. So it's, everybody's different. Everybody's financial picture is different. But the big thing is to understand the business cycle, risk on, risk off. You need to really understand that and where we are in terms of how you're positioning yourself with your investments.
Sure. Thank you for wonderful advice on that. Have you, for yourself, like I know we're different age bracket and different financial, are you planning to invest in certain asset class in this situation, like economy, or just holding off any investment at this point?
Yeah, so I'm not doing anything long term. So I'm in and out of things. I've been in, trading, crypto, trading stocks. I haven't done anything with real estate recently. I'm waiting for that to kind of balance out and settle, where that's going. But markets have been a lot of fun. There's been a lot of volatility. So you can make some really good moves if you're on it and you know what you're doing and you're, in and out. So those are the types of things I've been doing, but I'm not doing anything long term right now, other than, there has been some nice long-term plays in treasuries when they were peaking in terms of yield, the last few weeks. They've come back a little bit now, but I mean, you could get 4.5%, risk-free yield in treasuries. That's not a bad little play if you've got cash sitting around. But, right now, nothing long-term. It's all just short-term trades.
Thank you. Thank you for your advice. We are almost towards the end of our show right now, but I have a question. Maybe I don't know how long time we have about the personal finance, which I also highly believe on certain personal finance thing, especially cash flow versus appreciation, for example, right? So I want to hear your thoughts on that. What do you believe on appreciation versus cash flow? And also a little bit talk about other things that I personally do, like asset protection and tax planning.
Yeah. So you can't. So here's the one thing. So net worth and appreciation can kind of be looked at as the same thing. They're meaningless. Okay. Cash is king, whether it's cash in the bank or cash flow, cash is king. Equity, net worth, you can't spend that, and especially right now, interest rates have gone up, property values are going backwards. So if you've got equity in properties, you can't cash that in. So appreciation doesn't mean anything because assets don't always and forever appreciate. Again, it's business cycles.
Exactly.
So right now we're in a contraction phase. Values are coming down. Equity's going away. The only thing you can spend is cash flow or cash. So those are always the most important things. Okay, it's nice to have appreciation. It's nice to have equity, but you can't count on that. And when you look at where markets have gone and how long, last real estate crash we had was 0809. We're not experiencing anything like that right now, but it took 12 years for that to recover, to get back. So if you had equity and you had net worth, it was meaningless. But if you had cash flow, you were totally fine. And that's what saved me in the crash in 0809 was I had cash flow. Equity went away. All my net worth, all my equity in real estate got wiped out like overnight instantly, but I had cash flow. So that is what saved me. Same thing right now, is having cash and cash flow is what's going to get you through, bad economic times right now, not appreciation, not, equity and not net worth.
Yep. I totally agree with that comment.
Liquid net worth is good, but, net worth that's on paper, that's no good.
Yeah. I rightly said cash flow is the king. So I agree with that. What about the asset protection and a little bit about that and the tax planning? What do you suggest our listener, especially doctors and dentists, which we are poorly, financially, I wanted to hear your thoughts since you've been in the long run,
So you should definitely have a sophisticated tax and asset protection attorney, and you should have a sophisticated accountant, for both of those things as well. So you need a team. You don't need one or the other. You need them as a team, working together. But yeah, you definitely want to protect yourself, protect your assets, protect your estate, and structure yourself properly. And, there's no one size fits all. Everybody's different. Everybody's goals are different. So, you really need a good team there. Obviously, you can have a wealth manager as well, but, you got to really make sure you have a fiduciary wealth manager, somebody who, is not just putting you into whatever products because that makes them the most money, but, somebody who has a fiduciary responsibility, to handle you differently. So, those are the three things that you should definitely have on your team.
Sure. I totally agree. I wanted to listener or viewer to get this point very clearly because, I guess some of the team I have is estate planning attorney, which talks about estate planning and living trust and all that. And also about asset protection because you don't want to expose your asset to everyone. So that's a big thing in the personal finance. And the tax planning is also important. As being a doctor, I have figured out in my life, how much tax we need to pay unless you do something about it legally and have some tax advisors on that. So anyways, we are towards the end of the thing. I really appreciate all your wisdom and your knowledge you have shared with us. Before we leave, I just wanted to, last question for today, where can people find you and what is the one thing you want to share today to our viewers or listeners?
Yeah, so gregdickerson.com, that's where all my info is. I have a YouTube channel. I put out videos every day and all of my info is there. But, the one thing that, if I could leave everybody with today is don't wait another minute. Whatever it is that you're wanting to do with your life, in your life, do it now. Don't wait because we're not going to live forever. You never know when you're going to check out. You never know when you're going to get another opportunity to do whatever that is that you want to do, what your dream is, to give back the way you want to give back, to achieve what it is you want to achieve. So start today. Don't wait another minute.
Thank you. Thank you for wonderful advice. The massive action is definitely good to do, and you need to take action every day. So I really appreciate again, Greg, for your wonderful time today. And And thank you, listener, viewer. If you wanted to subscribe or like, I would really appreciate everyone. And thank you for your time again, Greg.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Dream Big and Think Different. We hope you enjoyed it. Please be sure to subscribe to our show so you don't miss any gold nuggets. We would appreciate it if you could rate and leave us a review on iTunes, Spotify, and other platforms. And be sure to stop by SachinMaskeyMD.com to download a free copy of Sachin's book. Until next time.